Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 2. I did a quick overview of just how to navigate certain tools in InDesign. Hopefully you've watched that video prior to this video. We're going to go over just real quickly your discussion for this week, and then we're going to get right into your demo to help you get started with your first project, your first assignment. So let's go ahead and get started. So as you log into your class week 2, you will see this visual of this double page spread here. This is basically what we are going to be accomplishing using all of your knowledge in the past with InDesign, and then going forward with the tips and tricks that I give to you to create this double page spread. Before we actually get into that, let's talk about your discussion here. And we're really going to be discussing as time and how it's a limited resource. So what I really want you to do is think about what are your favorite time management tips that you find inspiring and effective. You know, there are best practices to do this. I know as an instructor, we always have training on this as well. So it's not just you as a student. This goes for anybody in a career, as well as in your own personal life, you know, just how well you manage your time. So go ahead and answer this, you know, obviously with the word 75 words. You're going to respond to 2 peers, be objective, not subjective, meaning, you know, comment on what works, what doesn't work. Bring up maybe some methods that you use that help you. We can all learn from each other. Make sure you're posting this by Thursday, your initial post, for, you know, to gain the most out of this discussion, not only in points, but also so that others can respond, and you know, you can go back and forth and discuss and respond to each other in a timely manner. Your complete discussion post with 2 substantive replies are due this Sunday. So go ahead and get started with that. All right, so back into the next topic, which is the big assignment, your InDesign challenge. So let's take a look at that. So using the supplied text and images, you will create a 4-page, 8.5 by 11 inch InDesign document. This assignment will provide an opportunity to showcase your current InDesign and page layout skills, creating and using parent pages, paragraph styles, a defined color theme, baseline grid, and grid structure. You will also need to pay close attention to and apply the 4 principles of design: contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. You know, we kind of hammer that in all the time into our assignments because we really want to be mindful that not only are you, you know, doing this correctly within InDesign and creating your project correctly using the correct tools and steps needed, but you also want to really be mindful of the overall picture. How is the layout? Is it too copy heavy? Is there enough contrast? Do you have a repetition of elements? Do you have proper alignment? How's your proximity? Are you grouping together your sections, you know, that go together? So once you're completely done with setting your type and your images, you know, really take a look at the overall design of your layout and make any necessary changes that you see, just kind of shifting. I always call it massage your layout, kind of move images around if you need to and copy around if it's not quite working. All right, so the first step is you're going to download this challenge zipped file. This has everything that you need to get started. It contains text, all images, assignment instructions, and submission requirements, as well as an example. So once you download that, you will see, and I kind of have it here in this little box here. This is the JTNF assets. You will see an ad. This is a PDF here. Let me open this up a little bit bigger. You will see an example of what you're going to be doing. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to follow the design of this. This is just for you to see an example so you kind of understand where things go. You have the logo, which is an AI file, Illustrator. And then you have 6 images that's provided to put within your layout. You have a doc file, a Word doc, which you will be opening and copying the text from. And then you have your week checklist. So I'm going to go ahead and open the checklist, and I'm going to open, and I know you can't see what I'm doing right now, but I'll switch to it. I'll get these open while I'm talking to you. So save this into your week 2 folder. You want to make sure you have a folder set up, and the folder shouldn't just be in your downloads folder. It should be in your on your hard drive, and create a class folder with the class name and week 1 through week 11. So in week 2, you're going to save your InDesign file within there, as well as the assets, have those folders all organized within week 2, so that next week, if you need to make any changes, you can go back. I would also recommend you saving this to an alternative place, such as a cloud storage. I use Dropbox, and I also use Google Chrome. They're basically free up to a certain, memory size of like how much you're using, but it's, I haven't filled mine up. So definitely do that while once you submit your assignment, save that to the cloud, save it to an external hard drive of some sort. That way, if you, and I've had this happen to me, something happens to your computer, say it shuts down, you can't get back to, can't recover the file, you have it in a safe spot, an alternative spot. You don't know how many times that has actually saved my butt. Whenever I, even as a professional, I deal with those issues as well. And I've learned the hard way, unfortunately. Sometimes that's all you need. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the Word document, and then the asset week 2 assignment checklist, because these are 2 things that I think are really important to take a look at first before we even get started. So go ahead and open up this PDF called Week 2 Assignment Checklist, and you will be graded on how closely you follow all project instructions. So keep this up, while you're designing this. Hopefully my demo will cover any questions that you might have, but I hope that you can sit and listen to this demo first before you attempt your project, and then go back, and you can always use my recording as a guide step by step. You can rewind it, go as at your own pace, and then use that to as a resource. All right, so here are the requirements. Obviously we're only doing this in InDesign. We're going to name this a certain name, so W2 underscore assignment underscore first and last name with a dot in between. Your size of your document is 8.5 by 11 portrait facing pages. So you want to make sure you're clicking on facing pages. And then also, before you start, in where it says start number, you want to start on page 2. And what that's going to do is just allow you to have the cover page available. So you're not kind of touching that until the very end. And then you go into your parent pages, which used to be the former master pages. You're going to set your page numbers, margins, and columns. You're going to put the logo there in the footer, as well as the name, date, and web address. So you're going to set up parent pages, and then you're going to create paragraph styles. So we're going to set up our paragraph styles, and you're going to create all the styles shown in the list below. So you're going to have body copy tab, pull quote, byline, headline, subhead, number, bullet, drop cap, para heading, which is paragraph heading. With that as well, we're going to define color themes and not use the default colors within InDesign. We want to make sure we're a little bit more creative than that. Also define a baseline grid. So all text and images must align to the defined baseline grid. This is tricky. So make sure you're paying attention to this, because, I've had a lot of students that, the baselines aren't aligning from column to column, and that's super important to get right. And then you're going to add the required text. So you're going to add this beginning on page 2. So that what that means is on page 2 in InDesign, you're going to add the required text, which is the JTNFL doc. You can only use Adobe CC fonts, and so do not use Minion Pro or Calibri. You can click on here to, kind of check that out. What's the best fonts? And then add continued on from to appropriate pages. Do not manually type in page number. We'll get that all handled when we do your parent pages. All right, and then what you're going to do is you're going to place your full page ad within your layout, and that will be on page 4. That's already given to you, and that's pretty typical of, I've worked for many publication companies, and there will be times when maybe you will be designing the ad, but a lot of the time you will have advertisers who already have the ad ready to go, and it'll be sent to you through either the advertising people or the group of your company, and then they'll send you the PDF and you have to place it in. So we'll be doing that. Also, in these pages, you want to make sure you have a minimum of 3 images, maximum of 4. So only the provided images you are to use. And that's typical too. Clients will give you like a folder, and sometimes they're a little bit more open, you're open to the images, but sometimes they want you to use required images given. And then your submission requirements, when you're all ready to submit this, you're going to package your InDesign file, and that includes a high-res PDF with the following settings below. So you're going to create your zipped file of packaged folder, and you're going to make sure when you do so, you copy linked graphics, update graphics link and package, and include the PDF at high quality print. So this is a nice little handy dandy checklist that you should have up as you're designing. Another thing I just wanted to show you real quick is the text file that you will be copying and pasting from this. So this is the text file, and it's always a good habit to, what do you do when you look at a text file? You don't know if everything's spelled correctly, right? Maybe the grammar is not quite right. And right here I can see, oh, there might be some spelling errors. I see summer with 2, 3 M's. Habitat's not spelled right. So it's a really good habit to, when you receive a Word file from a client, to do a spell check. And when you're in Word, it's super easy. You just go up to tools. Here, let me share my desktop here, so you can see my whole desktop. So you would just go up to tools, spelling and grammar, and you would just go ahead and do a spell check. Oh, you know what? Let me see here. Maybe I'm in the wrong thing. Spelling and grammar. Oh no, I'm in the right one. Okay. All right. So it's telling me I have on the right here, they must have just changed this because this looks kind of like different to me. 82% score here. So they're telling me here that I have maybe 16 spelling issues and 5 grammar issues. And so I'm wondering, there we go. If you double click on that, this is all new to me, so this is something that must have been an update. They're going to show you the word that has the issue, and then they're going to give you suggestions on what it is that you would want to consider. So let's say you want to do that one, you just click on that one as far as the option. Now this one's easy because it's just showing you one, so you just click on that, and it's going to automatically update it. Now this one is giving you just different spelling and also grammar considerations. So I'm going to click on that one. So just go through here, make sure it makes sense for the word in the sentence, look back and forth, read the sentence. It's always good to read this too before you even design. That's another thing that, let's see here, levies, distinctive, like a recording. I think it's the one. If you don't know what the article is about, and then if you want to ignore, so this is a name here. Choose. Okay, no, I'm going to click on this one because it has apostrophe, so we're good with that. But if you don't know what the article's about and you are designing it, how do you know what to use image-wise? And, how do you know what to highlight as far as like pulling out a byline, a quote. So just kind of make sure that you also, and I know it's kind of, a lot takes a little bit of time. Go ahead and read through there. I'm going to ignore because I think that's a name. Right, and I'm going to ignore this, although I'm going to ignore. You might want to capitalize that one. I'm going to ignore that and go back to it. Okay, that looks good. Okay, so if I were to come back here, I would look at this. Where was his name here? Okay, I lost his name. I would capitalize the word right for his name, but I can't even find it. Okay, I'll have to go back and look. Now grammar, if I click on that, it's going to go and check grammar. So you can go and see how everything looks for that. If you need the comma, I think that looks good. Time scale, kind of give you that suggestion, which might read better. That looks good. All right, I'm trying to find that name too. All right, now as you can see, this isn't formatted because you can see here, this is where the paragraph would end. There's no spaces in there, and that's okay. We're just going to copy and paste this in anyway. So once we're done spell checking, just kind of leave this on the side here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open up InDesign and we're going to make sure we use that handy dandy checklist to create our specifications when we create this new document. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is File, New Document. And then we're going to set our settings to what this little handy dandy specification gives us. And then we're going to just kind of change the settings here. So 8.5 by 11, and we're in inches. We want facing pages. And we're going to do 4 pages. So we're going to type in 4, but we're going to start on number 2 page. All right, what else do we have here? Columns is 1, gutters fine. We have our margin set at a 1/2 inch. And then our bleed, let's go ahead and do a 1/4 inch bleed all the way around. So I'm just, once this is checked, this little link, everything will change. So your top, bottom, inside, outside, you'll have your bleed. And then what you're going to do is click create. Okay, so it should look like this. If I zoom out, you can kind of see it all. I'm gonna push that in there. And what I would suggest is keeping your pages panel up and also your property window. And if you can't find that, go up to window and choose pages and properties. Those are 2 really good ones to have up. So you can see here you have your guides, which is that purple line. That'll be kind of the it gives you those margins, that white space to give you that nice white space needed to balance your elements within your page. And then you have your red line, which is if you have any type of image that goes to the trim line, you want to pull it out to a bleed. That way, if it shifts on press, you don't have that weird white gap. All right, if once you get to this step, we're going to focus on your parent pages. Okay, so parent pages, and let's go ahead and look at pages. So I'm going to pull this over, you can see it. Right now, we're just looking at pages, not quite your parent pages, which are formally known as your master pages. Master pages are a way to repeat certain elements, such as your maybe a graphic that it's placed on every page without you having to copy and paste it manually. Also, it's a good way to keep your page numbers on because it'll automatically number your pages based on how many pages you have. So it'll do it for you. So it's a really, really super time effective way to do this because you just never know. You might not just be creating a 4-page a 4-page magazine spread. You might be doing like 100 pages plus. So it's really helpful. The only way to access your parent page is if you double click right here onto your pages in your page window. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to help you set up your page numbers. And basically we're going over this part, okay? There we go, I highlighted it. All right, so you have to have your page number on there. You have to have margins and columns defined. You have to have your logo in there, your National Forest, name of the actual magazine with the date, and then the website. So your margins and columns, if you go up to your layout on your menu bar and you do margins and columns, we can set that here. And, you know, this is completely up to you and how you want to handle the margins and columns. The margins is 0.5, which I believe is good. I think this is good. I would probably leave this alone just because we're not quite sure how we're going to lay out our other pages. So as long as you have your margins set at 0.5, you're good. If you don't, change it there. All right. So in that folder, in that assets folder, you were given, not only were you given the type, but you were also given the logo. And the logo is the AI logo. So this is how we're going to apply it. Let me open up this sample here. So this is basically what we're doing for page 2 and 3. And then the next 2 pages. So you can see down here, we have page 2 starting on the left. We have the logo at the bottom. I'm looking at the footer. And then we have the name of the magazine and the date. And that's going to repeat on the left side of the pages, except for this ad being here. And then on the right side, we have just the web address. And you can see that there's a nice little line above that we're also going to place. So let's go ahead and use this as a guide to kind of set our footers. And I'm going to zoom in on the left, bottom left. And I'm going to pull down. If you don't have rulers, go to Window, Rulers. And I'm going to put it just like a guide here to know where my baseline of my page number will be. Oops. And I'm going to go ahead and set this. This doesn't print. This is just for you to set a guide on so that you know. And you can always change this. If you click on it, you can always change it unless you lock it. So if you go to View, Grids and Guides, Lock, it'll lock them. Now, just an FYI too, you always kind of want to have the snap to guides selected, just so like when you're aligning certain things, it snaps to place. It's just easier. All right, so we're on the parent page and we want to set our type. So let's go ahead and take our type tool and we're going to click on that type tool. We're going to click and drag it from that start on the left side margin all the way till the right margin. This is just for page 2. And then once you let go of that text box, you'll see the cursor blinking. And now what we want to do is we want to place our page number placeholder within here, the character. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to click on type at this point, and we're going to say we're going to select insert special character. And we're going to choose markers, so just below symbols, and current page number. And what's going to happen is it's going to create this A, and that's exactly what you want. This is going to be changed into your page number once you get into your regular pages. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to put National Forest and then the date. But before we do that, let's go ahead and place a tab in here. So we're going to select your A. So I just double clicked on that. And we're going to go up to type and we're going to go tabs. And we're going to do a right tab. Pull this out a little bit. So this right here is right justify. We're going to select that. And we're going to place this right over here. So I'm going to click right on this ruler and we're going to place it right on the 7.5 mark. You can see the little 7.5 right there. Boom. And what that's going to do, and then we just hit that little red button right there. What that's going to do is once we click in here again and we unhighlight the A, we're going to hit tab on our keyboard And then we're going to hit Command V, or you're going to type in, which I don't have in here, the name of the magazine, which is National Forest, and then the date. See if I can copy and paste that in there. No. All right. National Forest. I'm gonna have to type this in here. You could always bring up the checklist again. Let me bring up the checklist. Where is that at? I have all these things up here. That's the only bad thing is like you want to have everything open, but okay, here we go. So this is the text you can actually copy from too. If you go to Tools and Edit PDF, you can actually copy this information. Oops. Make sure you don't select the A. You can set it to this month. I don't care. Kind of like play around with it. See what you can do here. I'm just going to put July, although this says January. And then we want to make sure we have the logo in there. Okay. So before we actually place the logo, we have the type set on the right and we have the type set on the left. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change the type here because I want it to be a different typeface. So I'm going to go up to Window, Typing, select Character. And remember how the instructions said no Minion Pro? We want to do like we want to do a font that is in our Adobe files. So we want to go to our Adobe files. And what we want to do is, I'm going to skip this, go to our fonts, and we're going to look through here for, some really clear fonts that we can use for our magazine. So I would do something with it has a type family that is readable. I know, this is a footer, so you want to make sure it's readable too. You can actually click on these and see what they look like. And obviously you're not going to do something like that. Maybe like Futura is kind of a nice pick. So let's do Futura. And then I'm going to go in and do Futura condensed medium. There we go. Perfect. And then I'm going to choose 8-point size. Now for a folio, which is at the bottom, you don't want it to be huge. So 12 points a little bit too big. I would stay anywhere between 9 and 10 points. That's a good start. So I did 10 points, Futura condensed medium. And then now you can align, and I'm going to zoom in here so you can see. Align this so that it's not right up. It's going to actually align the bottom. The baseline is going to align on this blue line that I created. You see that? All right. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create a character style for this. Or I'm sorry, a paragraph style. So we're going to go up to Window, and we're going to go to Styles, and we're going to go to Paragraph Styles. And we're going to name this. We're going to actually do New. And double click on top. We're going to name this Left Footer. Okay. And this is where you can actually change, and I know you've worked with this before. You can change the font. You can actually do the type size here as well. You can do the tab here. We already have that set in here, which is good. And then you can also do character color. So let's say, and we don't want to use the default colors, but let's just say we want to do some green. We can make this all green if we want. Okay. Another thing, and let me go ahead and double click. If you want to change this, just double click right over top of your paragraph style. What you want to do is a line above here, a rule. So you want to go to paragraph rules. And you remember that line that's in that example? We want to do the same thing. So we want to do rule on. Go ahead, select that. We're going to do a thinner rule. So I'm going to choose 0.5 instead of 1. We're going to do a black line. And then what we want to do is we want to offset this. So hit preview and take a look at what you just did. Right now, the line is underneath. So I want to offset this. I want this to go above So I'm going to choose like 1.1875 for my offset. And then I click OK. And then go ahead and take a look at what you just did. Let me zoom out of my, let's see. You can see here, and let me do like a little preview, that we have this nice rule line. My page number is shown here, and that we have a nice typeface picked for that footer. All right, you're going to do the same thing over here, although we're going to set it a little differently because on the right side, we want the page number to be on the right. So go ahead and do your type. Now, the type here on the right page is going to be a little different. We want this to be, let me pull up my other example here. If you look down here, we want just the web address on the inside left of the page and then the page number on the right. So we want to go back and go ahead and get the web page. Copy, and I'm just going to paste it in here. And then don't forget, we want to do, we will set this in its own paragraph style, but go ahead and just type that in for now. What we're going to do is we're going to double click on that. So we highlight it. We're going to go to your character styles. Not character styles, we want paragraph styles. Hold on one second. Paragraph styles. And we're going to select new paragraph style. And we're going to double click over it. We're going to say right footer. And here you can change it here instead of in the actual document. So Futura, just make sure it's the same size. It's okay for it to be left indented. Now here is where you can set the tabs to instead of doing like what I did in the beginning. I want to do a right tab on 7.5 because that's where the page number will be. So right justified tab, click OK. Oh, I forgot to do the color, but that's okay. Maybe we'll keep this one black. All right, so then once that's set, you're going to put your cursor, just click right off of that, put your cursor right to the right of the org and hit tab, and that'll hit it, your little blinker, text blinker will be ready for your page number. So then we have to repeat that, go up to tabs, insert special character, markers, the same exact thing we did before, page number. Okay. Now I can set this to, if I wanted to, I'm going to double click on right footer. I can also make this that green color as well. Click OK. And then it saves it. Just make sure that it aligns the baseline on that same baseline as the one on the right. So your alignments, the baselines are aligning. Okay. Save that. We have to do one more thing. Oh, let's go ahead and save this. What's our, let me see. Make sure we save this the right name. And I'm going to put this on my desktop for now, but I will put it in my folder. And now I want to do is place that logo in. Remember they had the logo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the midpoint of my document, which would be, let's see, somewhere around here. So 4 1/4. I'm just clicking on my text box here and it's kind of telling me. It's snapping to the guide. So I know I want to put this logo right here and I want to make sure that it's the same, almost the same width here. So I'm going to go ahead and take my rectangle frame tool and I'm going to draw a tiny little box here, just a little one. And I'm going to do Command D, which is file place. And I want to go ahead and place this logo in. So file place. Now you can see it's too big in there. So I want to go up to object with it selected, choose fitting, fill frame proportionally. And then I just kind of adjust this so that, I make sure the logo can be seen. That looks pretty good. If you want to get it a little bit smaller, you can always go in here and let's see, you can change the size. I think this is pretty good. And I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it over here on the right side. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let me make sure this is all on the same. There we go. All right, so it looks like that I have everything I need into my pages. So whenever I end up, I have to save this, but before I click on my pages, you can see that the A is going to, once you click on the pages, the A is going to change into the number within your pages. So I'm going to double click on my pages now to activate my pages. And you can see page 2 now is there because that's page 2. And I scroll to the 3, bottom left. I go to page 4 and 5. See how it automatically changes that? So that's so nice, especially if you have like a really long publication and you don't want to repeat elements. All right, so that's your first quest in getting that correct. And then we're going to move into more of your paragraph styles. So we're going to make sure we have a body copy tab. That's for tabs within your body copy that you need to, it's completely up to you on how you want to handle that. Sometimes you could do a space after each paragraph, or you could do an indent. You could do a pull. Obviously, we want you to see a pull quote. So let me go and show you the example here. Let's take a look at this. So they have a drop cap. So we want to do one of those. And typically when you do a drop cap, you want to create your own, this whole paragraph will be set separately in a paragraph style. So I'll show you how to do that. It looks like this is space after, so you'll be setting the spaces in between paragraphs. I'll show you how to do that. Then you have your subheads, and then you have specialty copy with some leaders. I'll show you how to do that. This is your pull quote. This is just copying something within the copy that is important that you want to emphasize. And you can see how different it looks. It kind of it's in a different area and it's larger type. It's treated a little differently. You'll want to place in your images and have your image wrap so that the copy isn't super close. So you can kind of see how this is laid out. On page 3, you'll have your ad placed in, and then you'll have continued text to page 5. Another thing to look at too is you have, sometimes it's nice if you have a break. Say for instance, this full page ad breaks up your from your page 3 to 4 and 5. You want to have something saying, continued on page 5. You want to have this separate text here. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with placing the copy. And think about the typeface that you're going to use. I would highly recommend, I use Futura for the footer, but I wouldn't use it for the body copy just because it would be harder to read. So I would really recommend an Adobe font that is a serif that has, like that you see here. So say Adobe Garamond is a good serif, a readable font, something that's legible and readable. All right, so let me bring up the copy here. And now that we did a spell check, you don't have to worry about copying this part. Go ahead and take your cursor and just select all of this copy here, highlight it. And we're going to go edit copy or Command C. That's your shortcut. We're going to click on page number 2. That's where your copy starts. And I would just take your type tool and go ahead and click and drag a huge, text box here. It doesn't matter how big it is. Just, I would have it flow within your margins and then do Command V or File Edit Paste, Command V. And then at this point, this is where you're going to set up your paragraph styles. Before I do that, I want to make sure my text boxes are linked. So after I paste that, I'm going to go ahead and drag another copy box over here. And we're going to skip this page because that's a full page ad. And I'm going to do another copy box here. Just click and drag. Nothing will be in there. You're just dragging a copy box. So right now it's empty, but you can see the copy box. What we want to do is we want to link these so that it's flowing from one page to the other freely. So click on the first copy box that you just paste in here. And you can see this little red box on the lower right-hand corner. It's saying, hey, this is an alert. You have more copy here that's not being shown. So if you have one of these red boxes and you think your story ended, you best check that because you might have more copy that's not being shown. But at this point, what we want to do is we want to click on that little red box so we can take that copy that's not being shown and link it to the next text box. So all we do is click on that red box, click on the box we wanted to have it flow into, and then we want to do the same here. So page 3 will flow into our page 5 copy box. So this is what happens. Once you have that all flowing, you can adjust this box and you can see how it's adjusting in here. So that's what we want. We don't want to do separate boxes and not have them linked because it would just be super hard to edit. So just make sure you have these linked up. So that's the first step. Go ahead and save that. Now we're going to set our paragraph styles. So here we go. Paragraph styles are great because it affects big groups of copy. Character styles only are good for just one character or two small words to say emphasize them. They have a little bit less options for character styles where paragraph styles has, a lot more options to, as far as like their presets. All right, so we're going to create a new paragraph style. And let's see here. We want to name that. This is for the body copy. We just want to name this body copy. Okay, so we're going to do new paragraph style. We're going to double click on that. By the way, the basic paragraph style is always there. It's the default. So just ignore that for now. Body copy. This is where it's the challenge of choosing a typeface that is both readable and legible for your main body copy. So really pay attention to that. What am I doing here? I want to do an A Garamond. Garamond. Let's see if I can actually find it in here. Here we go. Oh no, that's not it. EB Garamond. Let me go back up here. You could do Baskerville is a good one too. That has a nice type family. Now remember, you don't have to choose a serif for your subheads. That could be, a little bit more free as far as what you choose there, but let's see. I guess do these have families? No. I guess let me see if I have this loaded. Let me go back here. More fonts, added fonts. And you can always click on browse for more fonts. It'll open up as a website and then you can search here. I'm going to do Garamond, which I thought I had. I guess I don't have the whole family because let's add this Adobe Garamond. That's what I was looking for. Okay. Let's do this again. So I'm going to go leave copy, basic character. There we go. Here I'm on Pro. I want to do regular. And for body copy, for a publication, you really want to stay between, you don't want to, 12 is too big. I would stay between either 10 or 11 based on your font. I typically like 10. That's a good ratio. And then don't forget the ratio that designers use for the perfect leading spacing is usually like 20%. So I'm going to go with 10 points and 14-point leading. All right. Once you decide on a legible and a readable typeface and a type size and your leading, go ahead and just scroll through here. What we're going to do is we're going to select indents and spacing because we want to have space after each paragraph. You can either do an indent for every paragraph or a space after. I kind of like a space after. So what we're going to do is we're going to align to a grid. So we're going to click on all lines. And we're going to choose a left alignment because that's usually good for body copy. And then what we're going to do is space before. I'm going to set this to like 1/4 of an inch. Now, if I need to resize this, I can, as far as the space after each paragraph. You know, sometimes we like to see what it looks like first, and then we have to adjust it. So let's go ahead and choose 0.25. And then we will see how that looks. All right. We don't have to worry about tabs. Let's see, what else do we have to do? Oh, hyphenation. So we want to make sure we don't have a ton of hyphenation within our body copy. That just makes it really hard to read. So select that and slide this to fewer hyphens. That looks good. Everything else looks fine. We can adjust this as we go forward. Let's click OK. And we're going to apply this paragraph style to the copy. We haven't done that yet. So what we're going to do is going to take our type tool. We're going to do a select all. Okay. And see how it says basic paragraph. See how that's selected. We want to do body copy. All right. Now, the thing you'll notice is, wow, look at that line spacing. That's a way too big. So what we need to do is we need to make sure our baseline is the correct size based on our leading. Okay, let me pull up your paragraph panel. So go to Window, type in Tables, and choose Paragraph. And just make sure, and we did this in the paragraph style, just make sure that this button is selected. That will align your baselines. Okay, so that's selected. Now what we got to do is just kind of play around with the settings. So we're going to go up to InDesign and go to Preferences, and we want to go to Units and Increments. So InDesign, Preferences, Units and Increments. And what we want to select here is grids on the left. And what we want to do is set the increment to your leading size. So we set 14 for our leading. We want to set this to 14. And what that's going to do is it's going to set your baselines to a more realistic 14-point leading. It'll set your grid to that, your baseline grid. Okay, so that's very important. That's a very important step. All right. Now, another thing I noticed is the space after is really big. See these spaces? That's too big. So I'm going to double click on my body copy to change that, my body copy paragraph style. And I'm going to go to indent spacing, and I'm going to make that smaller. If you hit preview, you can actually see the changes happening. So there we go. Boom. I would say 0.1875 is a good space, maybe even less than that. We'll do 0.125. Click OK. Some of these, you know, there are spaces that you kind of have to get rid of or do like a shift return. So you kind of get rid of that space. You can see here, these would be, you know, more together. All right, so that should be your main body copy. It looks good all throughout. Now, we're going to go ahead and save this. The next thing that I would do is break this up into columns. So you can see here in this example, the first page is 2 columns, the second page is 3 columns, and then the 5th page is 3. So how you would do that is you would select, say, this first body copy box, and we're going to go up to type, and we're going to choose, where is it at here? Is it under this one? I always get this. Oh, sorry, it's not under type. I always do that because it has to do with type. Go up to object and choose text frame options. Object text frame options. And then what we're going to do is, this is where you set your column. So instead of 1, we're going to hit 2. So it's going to change just the box that we selected, just this box, not the other ones, to 2 columns. See how that changed? We're going to do the same thing for this one, and we're just going to emulate what we see in that example. So object, and you can shift select. Say if you want to do the same thing to this one, just hold down shift and select both text boxes. That's kind of easy. And then you want to go to object text frame options, and we want to set this to 3 instead of 2. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not sure if that's going to apply that. It applied it to that one, but not this one. That's really weird. I'm going to have to do that separately. Text frame options 3. Maybe I didn't have it selected. There we go. So that's how you would change that so it's different, you know, on each page. You got 3, 3. And then we'll shift. You don't see type here, but it'll all be shifted. Okay, go ahead and save that. And then what we want to do, let's create our body copy paragraph style. So let's pull up paragraph styles again. Where did it go? There we go. And we want to choose a new paragraph style. I'm sorry, subhead. We want to do a subhead for a paragraph style. Now this doesn't have to be the same font that you used for your body copy. It can be completely different. Like for instance, I use the Futura for my footer. So maybe I'll use it for my subheads. I'm going to choose condense extra bold. I'm going to make these slightly bigger and do 12 point. I'm going to leave the leading the same. Left align, I'll leave that the same. Now for this, I would probably, this might kind of screw things up because it's a bigger font. I'm going to choose none to align to a grid. We'll see how that, actually, let's keep that as is and we'll see how that affects it. Don't have to worry about tabs. The only thing I thought of is the character color. You might choose a different color. I'm going to choose green for now. I can always change that. And then I'm going to click OK. And then what you need to do, because this is all set in body copy paragraph style, we want to select just the subheads and go ahead and change that. Another thing that I just noticed when I changed that is it has a space after each one of these. So what I want to do is I want to change that. So I want to select the subhead paragraph style. I want to go to indents and spacing, and I want to take this down to 0. We don't want that. We want it to be as close to the body copy. We don't want that space after. Okay. All right. So let's see. Did you know? Is that a paragraph? Yes, it's a subhead. Find your subheads and then select and then just go throughout and change them. This is, you know, I might not be getting all of these here, but let's go ahead and see if I can get most of them. So you're just changing the styles of these. All righty, that looks good. Is that all the copy? Oh, this one here I missed. I might have missed a couple here, but that's fine. I'll catch it somewhere here. And then again, like this copy here is going to be we're going to have, I'm going to go do a shift return. I'm going to delete the space and do a shift return. That's a soft return because we want to treat this copy a little differently. I believe this one is bulleted. Okay, so this has a leader after it and tabs, and then these ones are bulleted. Another thing I noticed is this is indented here. It's up to you if you want to indent it. And how you would do that, I'm fine with it not being indented as long as you have the space in between each paragraph. But if you wanted to change that to indent, go ahead to body copy, and you would just go to indents and spacing, and you would do first indent. And I wouldn't go, oh, not first indent, sorry. First line indent. I wouldn't go beyond 0.125 just because it's too big of an indent. But typically what I say is, if you have a space after, you don't necessarily need an indent. Now, did you notice once I did the indent, look what happened. The subheads have an indent too. So we want to take that out. We don't want subheads to be indented. So double click on the indent, go to your subhead paragraph style, go to indents and spacing, and we want to make sure that this is 0. And that's how easily, and once you set those subheads, it'll take it back. Okay. So that is basically how you would set up your body copy, your footer, your subheads, and also your columns, align it to a baseline. And now what we want to do is we want to do a drop cap for the first paragraph. But because the drop cap affects the body copy, we want to make sure we set just this paragraph is set in its own paragraph style. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to select just the first paragraph, and then we're going to hit new paragraph style, and we're going to name this body copy. I think it was, what did they name it? Indent or tab. All right. So we're going to do that. Everything should be pretty much the same. So the size of the copy is the same. The leading's the same. Everything's pretty much the same. The only thing what we want to do is take out that indent, so 0. All right. Keep the space after, but the indent should be at 0, so indents and spacing. And then what we want to do is we want to do a drop cap. Now, select drop cap. We want to do, how many lines do you want that drop cap to go down into? I'm going to do 3 and see how it affects that T. If you go 4, it drops it down even more. I think 3 is pretty good. And then I'm going to click OK. And you'll see. Now you can always change the color and everything, but I think I'll just leave it at that. Let me see, because I think what happens, it'll change the whole paragraph. Yeah. So what we would need to do, if you wanted to change the color, we need to make a character style. So we go to styles, character, not paragraph, character, new, and we'll name this drop cap green. And then go to character color, and we're going to choose green, click OK. And as long as drop cap tab is selected on paragraph styles and then drop cap green is the new, it'll just change the T, the drop cap, not the entire paragraph. So that's how you would do a drop cap. It's pretty easy. And then if you wanted to change the color, it'd just be a simple character style that you would need to set. All right. The next thing would be your, you want to set your headline. Here we have what was given to you in your copy. So let's open that up. This is I told you not to copy this part because it is separate. It's your headline, but now you can go ahead and copy that. And I'm going to go ahead and bold this down a little bit. So we have room for, I'm just going to emulate what the example is too. We're going to take the type tool and just draw out a new type box. And I'm going to do Command P or V, sorry. Okay, and that's going to paste that in here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 different styles on this. So let's see here. Actually 3 different styles. You can see how different these are. So you have, like the emphasized part, which is California's Desert Wonderland. And then Joshua Tree National Forest is set differently. And then the byline is set differently. So we're going to do 3 different styles here. So let's see what they named it here. So subhead, number, bullet, paragraph heading. Okay, I think this is headline. So we'll do a new paragraph style, and we'll do headline. I'm going to name this headline 1 because I might treat this differently, like shown in that example. Futura. Again, you could set this to being bigger because it's a headline. This looks like it has an indent. I'm going to take the indent off. In the image here, it's left justified and it's white. So paper. Make it just a little bit bigger here. We'll do 16, maybe even 18. Now you can't see it because it's white, but we're going to do a new paragraph style. We're going to name this headline 2. And this is going to be Futura. We'll do bold and we'll make this much bigger. 24, and we'll do the color. We'll skip the color for now. Click OK. Let's go ahead and place the image in because then we could see the headline coming to fruition here. So I'm going to take the rectangle frame tool and I'm going to start where the bleed is because the image that is provided, and like I said, you don't have to follow this. I'm just doing this for ease of showing you. This is bleeding off the left and the top part of this magazine. So I'm going to go ahead and click on to that very start of the axis of the bleed. Click and drag it over to the middle of our layout. So right to that trim edge. So that when I place it, so I go Command D, I can place that in there. Excuse me. And as you can see, this isn't placing perfectly in here. We want to size it proportionally. So after we place it with that selected, go to Object, Fitting, Fill Frame Proportionally. And then, before we do anything else, we want to Object, Select, Send to Back. And that means just sending it back behind the text. You don't necessarily have to like create layers. You could just send it back so that it's, you know, layered and you can see the copy. All right, now it's going to be easier to make changes to our headline. So I'm going to go back to our headline, double click on headline 2. And this looks like it has an indent too. So let's go back to indent, take that off. That looks good. And then this is actually a little bit bigger. So I'm going to make this bigger. Let's do 34, and then we'll do auto letting. That looks pretty good. Click OK. I'm going to go back to my Desert Wonderland. So we'll just do a shift return there to pull it there. And then for the color, let's select that and double click on our headline. For the color, we're going to change this. Actually, before we do that, let's cancel this. We're going to take our little eyedropper tool and we're going to sample like a color in here that might be lighter. Let's do like, and I'm talking about the picture. Take the eyedropper tool, sample, you know, like the picture color, double click on that, and then you're going to add it to the RGB swatch list and click OK. So that once you add that color in, and we're taking it from the picture, which is kind of cool because it aligns with it, we're going to double click back on that headline 2 style, paragraph style, and go to character color, and we're going to click on that new color to change it to that. That looks pretty good. Do a shift return there so it kind of goes together a little bit better. Let me see how this looks. That's a little bit more pink. We can always adjust that. So let's just double click on that. Character color. Let's see, cancel that. Actually, you know what? I shouldn't have put that space in there. Hold on one second. There we go. We can adjust this. I think this has a space after the headline one. Let's see, space after. Yeah, so let's get that to 0. There we go. That was my bad. I'm going to bring up the swatches here. So let's see, color swatches. I'm going to change this to be a little bit more pink. So double click on my swatch I just made. I'm just going to make this a little bit more pink. I think that probably looks a little bit better. Click OK. And then you can see it being changed, although I don't want this to be outlined. There we go. There we go. Perfect. And then I'm going to pull this up so that it aligns with the you know, kind of centers, but it also aligns with the margin there. Now the byline, you can see here is a byline. We're going to do a new paragraph style for that. And we're going to name this byline. And this is who the story is written by. Do Chora for this one. Let's do medium. I can even do italic, medium italic. This could be slightly bigger. I'm going to do like a 12-point character color white. So you can see it. I don't want an indent. And I don't want space after. Not that that matters, but click OK. As long as you can see it's readable, that looks pretty good. And then if you want to see it kind of preview, oh, we have like a line here we don't want around here. I would probably say bring this down just a little bit more. There we go. Perfect. Kind of center in there. Good. All right. So that's the a way that you can do the headline. You know, it's up to you if you want to play around with the headline and not do exactly what I just did, but you know, play around with it and see what works. Now, again, you can pull colors from this. Like, let's say that I like this like darker color here, this like clay color. I'm going to add it to my swatches. And I can make parts of my subheads into that same color. Oops. You know, kind of align it a little bit better. Same thing with my subheads now. So I can go in here and say, okay, I'm going to double click on my subhead. Whoops. Not select it. Make sure you're not having your copy selected when you do that, or else it'll change it. Just go to double click on subhead and go to character color, whatever color you put into your swatches that, you know, goes along with the article might look a little bit better. All right, so that's how you would change that. Let me go forward and see, this actually needs to be set differently. There we go. So this copy is set a little differently because as you can see in our example, they have a leader, which are these little dots, and they're tabbed, so they're justified right. So let's go ahead and create a special paragraph style for that. So just select those 3 lines of text, create a new paragraph style. We're going to name this tour. I'm going to name it tours. I don't know what they, hold on one second. They have specified some head number. Oh, this must be number. Yeah, let's name this number. All right. I don't have to worry about changing any of the type. All I need to worry about is the tabs for this copy. So what we want to do is we want to put a right justified tab, and we want to put this all the way to, I think it was 7.5. So like right here. All right. So we put a tab in there, right justified, and see where it says leader. We want to click our cursor there, and we want to just put a period in there. And that's going to, what that's going to do is that's going to set those little dots, and click OK. So now I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see it better. We want to make sure we're setting that number. Okay, that's selected, our paragraph style. We want to put a cursor in between the money sign and the tour. We're going to hit delete because there's a space in there. And then we're going to hit tab. It looks like the tab went a little bit too far. We're going to do the same thing here. Now I'm going to adjust the tab because it looks like it went a little bit too far. So if yours is looking like this, all you need to do is double click back onto your number paragraph style and go to your tabs and just adjust that tab that you put in there. Let's see, so that it's a little bit to the left of, maybe it's a little bit to the left. Oh, I went way far. Okay. Maybe I went too far here. Hold on. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is way too far because I have 2 columns, so that makes sense. All right. And you click OK. Oh, it still doesn't. Let's see. This. Oh, right here. Okay. My bad. Don't go to 7.5. Go to right here, which is like 3.65 or 3.667. Right here. Yes, it's 3.6. That's because if it was 1 column, it would be 7.5, but because it's 2 columns, so the columns are sized differently. So they're a little smaller widthwise. So as long as you're in like a 3.5 or 3.66, that's going to flush it perfectly. So you have these leader dots automatically in there, as well as you're tabbed, you know, in a perfect way there. All right, so that is, that's the way to do that. Now I'm trying to think of what else here. So we have our subheads. Oh, we have bullet copy right here. And then we also have our pulled quote. So let's do our bulleted copy. Same thing, only this is going to be bullet. We're going to name this bullet. So go ahead and select these 3 lines of text, new paragraph style. We're going to name this bullet. Everything should be the same. The only thing that you're going to do is you're going to put, let's see, bullets and numbers. Perfect, right here. All right, so we're going to do bullets. And we're going to do our indent's going to be a little, let's pull back our tabs a little bit. See how that space changes to 0.25. And then we're going to keep this at 0.125. So that looks good. The only thing is it's giving that bullet to our body copy here. We don't want that. We want body copy to stay the same. And we want these to be bulleted. Why is that doing that? Oh, you know why? Because I put space there. That's why. Okay. That was my problem. Now, once this is set, now you can kind of play around with the space after. So let's go ahead and double click on bullet. And let's go to indents and spacing. We're going to take that space after. We don't need that. Let's see. Okay, why is there a space here? Oops. Oh, it's because this is a space after, that's why. Okay. All right, we want to put like a space after that one. So you can manually put that space in there just so you kind of get that nice space. You can leave that as is, that's fine. As far as the bulleted copy, it should be kind of closer to that. I'm trying to think of a way that you could do that without messing up. Oh, this must be the, okay. So we're going to do another paragraph style. This is why it's body copy tab. So I want to do another style for the beginning part of this. We want to keep everything the same. The only thing we want to do is take away the space after and click OK. That way it's not like a space in between there. That's perfect. All right, so save that. That looks good. And then what we need to do, oh, here's the numbered type, which I think I maybe mislabeled that. Let's see. Full quote, byline, headline, subhead, number, bullet, cap drop, para heading. All right, so let's do this. Let's name this something else. So let's go over here. I said number, but I think that's going to be wrong because we already have a number. Let's just name this tour copy. I know it doesn't show one there, but we won't get this confused because these are actually numbered over here after the word passing. So we want to make sure that that is the correct numbered text. Okay, I have to find this copy too. And this is after a temporary phenomenon. Okay, this is the numbered text. In the late 100s. Okay, so all of this copy here, I think up to here, let's see, 1930s. No, just this copy. So just highlight this copy here. It's right after a temporary phenomenon. We're going to do a new byline or a new paragraph style, and we're going to name this number or numbers. And we're going to go down to our bullets and numbering, and we're going to go to numbers for this one. We're going to adjust the tabs. We don't want it to be that big, so we want to be like around 0.25. And then what we're going to do, keep that the same. Let's indent this, like, let's see, let's do left indent 0.125, and let's pull this in a little bit. There we go, perfect. So I chose 0.125 left indent, first line indent 125. If I can pull this closer. And then our tab position is 0.4375. All right. So, and then indents and spacing. First line indent. Oh yeah, this is all good. I'm just trying to see how they did it here. Okay, so just like before, see all this big space here? We don't want that big space there. So we're just going to select this copy, and we're going to do the same thing we did before, the copy before. And we're going to go copy tab. Okay. And then that way that takes out that, that space. Now I see that there's spaces after these as well. So I'm going to go back to my numbers, paragraph style. I'm going to take away the spacing after to 0 because we don't want that. But we want to do a space after this. So we're going to hit, let's see, body copy. Here we go. Let me see how that was done there. Okay. All right, let me go back to my numbers and let's go to indents and spacing. Space after last line indents. I'm going to do that. Cancel that. We want to do a space after this, but we don't want this space to be affected by our no, we just have to leave it at that. Just kind of leave that space. I think it's because the space is bigger than the example here. It just looks a lot bigger. So we'll just keep it at that. That's fine. As long as your baselines are all aligning, you know, it's perfectly fine to have a little bit larger space here. All right, that looks good. And then the pull quote, I'm just going to go ahead and take it from here and show you how to do that. So basically what you could do is you could take your type tool, and it looks like this is across 2 columns. So we're going to go ahead and draw this out, just a type box of 2 columns. And before we do anything, we're going to go to our text wrap panel. And with this new text box that we selected, we're going to choose wrap around bounding box. And what that's going to do is going to allow all the copy that is near here to be clear. And we can kind of set that space too by selecting these, you know, space above, space below, space to the left, space to the right. the white clear space in here so that the copy is not getting super close in there. Okay, once you establish that, go ahead and type in your byline, paste it in, just like an important part of the article that you want to emphasize. And I'm going to align it to my guides here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a new paragraph cell. And we're going to name this byline. And I'm going to do Futura. I'm going to make this really big. And I'm going to do auto letting. And I'm going to do maybe not too condensed, but let's just do medium. Okay. And let's get a little bit bigger. Maybe a little bit smaller. Oh, wait. This isn't the byline. I copied and pasted. Hold on one second. Copy. Is this not pasting it right? No. All right. I have to like copy it from here then. Hold on one second. This is a little tricky part. Let me clear up my. Now, typically you would select this. I'd have to look to see where this is at here. In the article. I'm just going to type it as you travel through tree. National Park. All right, I'm going to go ahead and adjust this so it's not so big. Before I just had a little bit of copy. Okay. Refuge for the human spirit. Now you can put quotes in there or, completely up to you, just as long as this is emphasized in some way. It'll make us a little bit smaller. Let's try this. Perfect. Okay. The next thing is if you want to, let's see. If you want to put like a rule above, kind of like you see a little thicker rule, we can do that above and below, kind of like in that example. Let's do a tint maybe of this color. Actually, let's do this color. And we're going to do a below one too. So just click on the rule above and click on rule below and make it the same width. Can play around with that and then space it out. Kind of make it so it's equal space. I think maybe like right here is good. Through. What the heck is this? I think I did this wrong. Joshua. There we go. Something happened there. All right. So that is, let me go ahead and bring this up to full screen so you can see what's going on here. And clean up my workspace. There we go. And now you can kind of play around with the bottom here. You don't want the copy to be too far away, so you kind of adjust it so that it flows nicely. I'm going to pull this down just a little bit so that line catches below. Just an FYI, this you don't want to be aligning to a baseline grid. So if you want to go to, if it's kind of acting weird and you're trying to place it somewhere and it's not moving the way you want it to, go to your window type paragraph style, and just with that selected, just this copy, not your body copy, go to your do not align to baseline grid. And that'll kind of free you up to easily move this around so that it's not, you know, acting really weird. All right, go ahead and save that. And then the next thing is just getting in your images. So you can see here, they did like a round image on the second page, a square image on that page, square there. So let's go ahead and do that same thing. I can show you how to do that. And the text wrap is super important in this case. So let's go ahead and click on a rectangle frame tool, hold that click down and choose the ellipse frame tool. And hold the shift key down if you want to do a perfect circle. Click and drag that out. I think they did, oh, below that is a little smaller. Underneath the drop cap. And like I said, the text wrap is really what you want to pay attention to so that your copy isn't behind this circle or getting too close to it. So for a circle, you notice when I clicked on the text wrap, this option that we did before, it's not going to work around this because this is going to go based on the bounding box. So it's actually not going to fit the circle around the circumference. It's going to do the bounding box. So what we want to do is when I choose this third one, this third button, wrap around an object shape. See how that wraps around the shape itself? And then we can specify the clear space. So I would say anywhere between 0.125 and 0.1875 is a good range. You don't want to get too far away because, you know, then that would look weird. And then just kind of pay attention to the flow of copy. Is it hard to read? Is it affecting it in any way that you can't read it? I think it looks pretty good. So then I'm going to do Command D with this circle selected, and I'm going to choose which one is this? Oh, I'm trying to do it to the T here of the, okay, it's a zoomed in of a cactus. I think it's this one. Is it? No. Maybe this one. We'll just do this one. I'm not sure where to find that picture. And then again, if you want to kind of fit it in there, fill frame proportionally, or if you like it kind of zoomed in like that, you can double click in here to play around with the shape, you know, what's being shown in here. Now this is where it's going to trim. So this is what it will look like. If I go down at the very bottom of my toolbar and hit preview, it's going to give you a nice preview of how it's going to trim and really look without, you know, all that overlap. Okay, so my copy's flowing nicely. I think that works. There's only an issue of a widow here, which I'll kind of explain in a minute here. The next one is the square. So I'm going to go and select the rectangle frame tool this time. And is that going over? Yeah, it's going over that. Okay. So we're going to do a little rectangle here, and it's going to be the same width as the column. And I'm going to choose this one, just so it aligns nicely. And then text wrap. And you could just choose the second option here because it is a rectangle. It's the shape of the bounding box. Just make sure that I would unlink this and just worry about the upper part. As far as the space, the left and the right should be the size of the actual column. So it should be set perfectly there. All right, last but not least, we have one more besides the ad picture to put in here. And again, it's a rectangle, so it's super easy. And we're going to bleed that off and be the same width as the column here in your third column. So it's going to sit nicely here. I'm just going to pick this one. Fill frame proportionately, text wrap. And I'm going to undo this link and I'm just going to affect the bottom part. I'm going to put that bottom space in there only. Okay, that looks pretty good. Notice how I pulled it up to the bleed. Oh, I didn't do it here. Let me do it here. Okay. Let's see. I pulled that bleed down. There we go. Perfect. So it's going to that bleed. And it's okay if it covers the logo here. That's fine. We're going to be covering all of this anyway with the ad that we're going to place in. So really what we want to pay attention to is the flow of your copy. If there's any weird spaces, like right here is a weird space, we'll take a look at that after we place our ad. All right, so we're going to go place our full page ad on page 3. We're going to go File, Place, and you're going to go into that folder and you're going to look up the ad. It says Ad FP and click Open. And then what we're going to do is we're going to place this in here. Let's see. I don't think this has a bleed. So what I would do is just frame it around. Let's see the size of your page. So 8.5 by 11. Oops. So instead of the bleed, just frame it around the 8.5 by 11. Let's see, fitting, fill frame proportionately. It looks like it. Yeah, it looks like, let's delete this. I'm going to go File, Place. I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm just going to place it as is. So I'm going to select that and hit Open, and I'm going to click one time. And this is the actual size of it. So I kind of showed you wrong a little bit. So what you're going to do is you're going to place this in based on this size. We're going to pull this out. Once you place that in, you can play around with the bounding box so it fits all of that. What we want to make sure is we have a white background, so anything behind there is not showing, like our page number, and then you have this nice framed area. So it looks like that. Now, you can see how there's more space up here, so we can double click in there with the red border showing and just hit the up arrow on your keyboard. I'm going to go to the left too because it looks like it's not centered. And make sure that the left and the right margins and the top and the bottom are exactly the same. So I'm going to kind of play around with it. See how it kind of is equal on the left and the right margin, and then the top and the bottom. So pay attention to that when you're placing. Go File, Place, just click, and then adjust the bounding box and do exactly what I just did. All right, so that is, there we go. We have all of our pages. Now you can see here we have a weird gap here. So we need to play around with this a little bit. So there's several ways you can do this. You can increase your type size, but I think I'm okay with the type size. You can make certain images larger, like say, for instance, I can make this whole top part bigger. So like say if I wanted to bring this down a little bit, this is kind of like the massage part of this. You can see how it kind of allows more type to be accessible. So I can like maybe pull this down even more. Now, of course, I want to fill this up and pull this down just a little bit more. I can pull this down a little bit more. I can make this even bigger. Let's see how far I am here. Like say I want to do 2 columns instead of 1, I could do that. Or I can make this bigger, taller. That kind of affects it too. Same thing here. Okay. I can make this kind of bump a little bit more, not too much, but like bump down a little bit more. You know, I'm just kind of adjusting things based on how everything's flowing here. I might want to bring this down. Now I'm looking at how this breaks to the next page as well. So, you know, really kind of pay attention to any like orphans or widows that are happening once you do resize things. That looks pretty good. Now I'll have to adjust this tab, but for the most part, this is starting to fill out nicely. Now look at my tabs here. Now I have to adjust my paragraph style. Sometimes it's just slightly off. So let's see, styles, paragraph styles. I can't see them. There we go. I'm just going to adjust the tabs again. Remember how I adjusted that? I'm going to pull it to the left just a little bit more. And then you can kind of see how these changes are being applied right there, because we went from a 2-column to a 3-column. So that's why we have to adjust that part. So just kind of pay attention to say any widows or orphans that, you know, any weird spaces going on in here. I see a couple space issues. Here's a bad break here. I might even just extend this because I think I have room to the other column. There we go. And I have a bad spacing issue here. See how I have a bad break here with the one sentence. So there's some things I kind of have to play around with that will totally change my flow. You know, something as easy as this, as simple as this, I should say. Can affect, see now I have my 2 lines of text there, which is nice, but now look, I have a weird bump here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this down so that bumps up. That looks good. And everything else looks good here. I still have some copy. That little red box is telling me, hey, we still have some copy here. There we go. Perfect. Now I have that all up there. The only other thing I didn't show you is the continued text over here. So let's go ahead and do that. For instance, on page 2, it says there's like a little continue on page, which is added to the lower right-hand corner. So go ahead and take your type tool, copy that little passage there. And we're going to do, what is it called? Let me make sure I'm naming these all right. Is it heading? Paragraph heading? I'm just going to name this continued copy. I think that's probably the easiest. Desert Wonderland continued on page 5. And then they do like a little straight bar, which is underneath the delete key on your keyboard if you hold shift. And then I'm going to do a new style sheet. I'm going to name this continue type. I'm going to make this not so bold. I'm going to make this the same Garamond type. Adobe. Come on. 11 points. Maybe make it like semi-bold italics. It's a little different. And we're going to make it a little smaller. Another thing is I'm going to do a right justified. So indents and spacing, alignment, I'm going to do right alignment. That way it aligns on the right side. And I'm going to have it right here. The only thing is we have this space here. Let's see now. I'm gonna do like a return here. That way that bumps the next line. Oh, is that gonna work? Let me see here. Yeah, there we go. I just did a hard return. So just like a hard return, if you have your copy in place so that you have room for this. And then what you're gonna do is just, this is gonna snap on the guide if you have your baselines all set. And then it will continue, although now, make sure this is, I just do a shift return. That's a soft return, that way you don't have an indent there. And that kind of allows this to flow nicely. So just pay attention to any widows that's like one word ending a sentence. Make sure you're, for instance, here. Where is it? Let's see. Sorry, right here. That's a widow. So in order to fix this, you will have to go in and do like a return shift, like soft return, and that'll fix your rag and it'll also fix the widow. Everything else looks good. I really don't have any bad breaks. I don't have any widows. Everything's flowing nicely. Everything's aligned, proper hierarchy. My ads in, everything looks good. So we go to preview, and this is what overall my document looks like. This is what yours should look similar to. Oh, I forgot to do a roll over top of this one. To show you how to do that. So it's on my left but not my right parent page. But pretty much that's pretty good. I'm going to go back to my pages, and I'm going to go back to my parent page on the right because I didn't set a rule there. Rule above. And remember, we did a paragraph style for this. So go to paragraph style, double click, paragraph rules. Preview. Oops, I'm going to do right now. I want to do offset. There we go. And what we want to do is just the same thing on the left as we did on the right. Even the color, we'll just make that black. Just to keep it the same. All right, there we go. Oh, and I think we actually made this a little thinner too. Some rolls. We put 0.5. So make sure it's consistent. Okay, I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back to my pages and bam, there you go. Perfect. That looks great. There we go. Now you won't see the footer here, which is fine. You just have to put and make sure you put that white in the background just to fill once you do place your text or your ad so that you don't see the background. If you don't have this filled with white, this is what's going to happen. See how I have a white filler? You're going to be able to see that footer because this particular designer didn't put a white background behind it. It's placing in almost like transparent. So you actually have to physically click on a fill, not the stroke, just the fill white when you're placing that ad in. Okay. All right. And then the last step of this is just saving it. So you're pretty much at a good point. You're going to save this as a PDF file, and you're going to make sure copy link graphics, updated graphics and packages selected, and include the PDF, which is a high res. All right, and then we'll package that. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do file, and we're going to do package. And this is where you can see all the fonts that were used, all the linked images, everything looks good. Just hit package. And I usually just keep everything checked here. It's completely up to you. I would include your InDesign file as well. I would just have all of this checked. And then make sure you're including the high-res PDF. The other thing is making sure that your PDF is, and it might do this. Let me hit package. Let me check before I jump to conclusions here. All right, so I'm packaging this up. It should save it wherever you saved it to. Mine's to my desktop, I believe. No, maybe not. Make sure you know where you're saving it. Let's do this again. Package. Package. Oh, mine's in my asset folder. I'm just going to hit document. Why is this named weird? Okay, package. And this should be on my desktop or in the folder that you saved it. Double click on that folder and make sure all the fonts, all the links are in there. Your InDesign file is in there. And here's the PDF. Open that high-res PDF. Just make sure everything looks good before you submit it. And then you're going to package this. And how you package this, there's two ways you can do it. Select the folder, go up to File, Compress. And then this is what you would submit, this package folder. Or if you're on a Mac, you can hit Control-Click and hit Compress. And this is what you would submit. All right. Well, I look forward to reviewing your work. Hopefully this helps, and good luck going forward.